If you are getting prepared, think about things that can make it easier. We've mentioned it before, whether it's the freezer meals, whether it's the cart, whether it's whatever. It's like,
Energy drinks.
yeah, anything. But like, it's also a reminder you don't need to do it all. So just think about a few things that'll kind of hold you up when you're in it. Welcome back. I'm Aleea.
And I'm hot.
Postpartum to me is one of those things that is just really hard, especially like I experienced it, and until I experienced it, I just really didn't understand. And like with all the different changes and like things that you're experiencing, both like internally and just like a part of your life. Yeah, I just think it comes with so many emotions, whether that's you bringing home the baby and you're nervous and anxious because of that, or you're hurting because of just giving birth, you're tired. I mean, the list can go on. So I think it's just something that I didn't prepare enough for. And that's kind of what this episode is going to be diving into, is just we're wanting to help you kind of prepare for postpartum recovery the best way you can. It's not all rainbows and sunshine, and it won't be, but hopefully this will kind of help you just bring some kind of flowers during this rainy season of yours. So let's kind of dive in to maybe some real recovery tips and just kind of like the non-aesthetic part of postpartum life, because I feel like a lot of people glamorize it and it's not as pretty as some make it out to seem. So I just kind of like, if you are healing and you could be bleeding, you're exhausted, emotional, you're learning all about your baby. And so it is an identity shift. And so like for me, the reality is like I felt like I became someone new overnight. I don't know if that's like how you felt, but I was just shocked. And I was also shocked. There were so many things that like I took so many emotions on at once. I was so sore and I was shocked by how sore I was. I was so nervous, like being home with Dash. I remember the first time Ty went back to work and I was like, I'm going to be here by myself with like this baby.
I sobbed. I cried.
And so it's really scary. And obviously, luckily, I did the first couple weeks I had Ty, and I do think that kind of helped ease my worry. But like, still, it's like once he left, I was like, it's us. And yeah, it's just a moment I wish someone had said to me, like, and we definitely talked about it, like, this sucks. And
Yeah.
I think if I didn't have you, that would have been really hard, especially because like I was really surrounded by people that always were like, you're going to miss this. You're going to
Right.
miss this. And I'm like, yes, I know, but I want you to tell me that this sucks right now. So I don't know. What
Yeah.
about you? How was your like first personal postpartum experience?
Yeah. Well, first I want to say with the you're going to miss this, I wish they like said you're gonna miss your baby being this little, but you're not gonna miss the mental that you're going through. Because it's two different things. Do I miss like little tiny baby Azzy? I absolutely also love the stage that she's at. But do I miss how I felt? No, not at all. I think, yeah, I mean, it was kind of a lot of the same things for me. Like, I mean, we've talked about being pregnant the first time and feelings through that and going through all those feelings. I am, but I really was such an independent person that was, I think, something that was really hard for me was
Yeah.
that Tony had to help me stand up. He had to help me sit down. He had like and it's different for everybody, but for my healing situation and like the way our couch is set up and all that stuff, like he genuinely had to pick me up and sit me down. I remember for our, what is it, 1 week appointment with the baby, 1 week, 2 weeks, we were walking and I thought I was walking at a normal speed and it like the excruciating pain. And I was like, I have to slow down. Like I'm city dweller. I'm used to walking fast and I was already walking slow. So things like that were really hard for me, just like coming to terms with my body not working the way that I wanted it to. And they're like, oh, just wait until you're not pregnant anymore. Like you're going to get back to yourself. And nobody says like it could be right away. I mean, we see the women who are like walking around Target with a 2 week old and like all that stuff. Or you get them getting pregnant at like 4 weeks, whatever the case may be. And I remember just being like, I can't comprehend doing any of that. I mean, without getting into TMI, like just the intimacy of being with your spouse after having the baby, and not even talking like having a baby there with you is obvious a thing, but like how scary there's just so much that goes into it. But then there was also the postpartum of you have this adorable little baby and the love that you feel for them and the connection. I think the weird thing for me is for the first like 2 weeks to this day, I remember being like, I'm going to be a horrible mom because Tony was so much better with her. He was the only one who could get her to calm down. At that point, I wasn't nursing to soothe. I was just nursing, like doing the feeding schedule thing, which ended up not working for us. But I remember being like, this baby is going to hate me. Like, I would call Tony and be like, I can't get her to calm down. Please come get her. But once we got past that, it was very much so that, like, I don't want to let her go. Like, I remember me and Tony, like, obviously not fighting, but being like, whose turn is it to hold the baby? And he had a lot longer of a leave than Ty did. So that was nice. Like, I had him for really, I think 4 months. But he went to his cousin's, like, weightlifting match. Like, I don't, it might have even been a few weeks into it. And I was like, I was like, you go. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to deal with that stress. I I sobbed. I was like, how am I going to do this? Like, he's gone for hours. Like, I just remember feeling so incapable. We were fine.
Yeah, and I think you actually make a really good point is there were a lot of moments of joy, like
Yeah.
holding your baby, enjoying those moments, but then there was a lot of moments of fear. And something I do want to know is both Hav and I did experience tearing, and that added to our pain.
Right.
So
A little
just
more
to know.
trauma to our bodies other than birthing it.
Because I'm
Just birth.
like just healing from like the stitches and stuff, and like that was hard for me, is like the care for down there.
Mhm.
Which I think we can kinda get into is, like, the physical recovery. Like, I know
Yeah.
one thing that helped, and we did kinda mention it in the last episode, was the postpartum kit.
Mhm.
I actually put it right, like I mentioned, in the bathroom that I was using. If I was using both of our bathrooms, I would have put a kit in both of our bathrooms, but I was not. So, just in case you're, like, someone that's like, "Oh," I'm like, "If you use every bathroom, I would prepare yourself in every bathroom."
And that's what I did. I took the kit, like I had bought one, and then I took the kit from the hospital. So I put the
Oh,
hospital kit in one bathroom. And
yeah.
then the bathroom I use the most, I put the nicer stuff in. But that's just me thing. But yeah, it was so nice because not having to carry your waddle, and especially if you're doing the sitz bath and you're like, yeah,
And I will say, I know you mentioned this too in the last episode. If you don't, definitely carry a caddy. I know how I've
yeah,
mentioned the shower caddy. So, like, if you do not want to like double up, but I love the idea of using what the hospital gave you just because, again, we talked about that last episode. If you don't take everything, bring that stuff home and use it. Yeah, when you get home for postpartum. But things that really helped, especially like obviously I took like pain meds that they gave me or like had me take, but like the dermoplast, the tuck wipes, even because I had breastfeeding for me early on was a little hard. I had got a couple clot ducts. I had like it was painful. And I think being in winter also didn't help just because I felt like
mhm.
chapped even faster. But both like the lanolin cream and the silver things that you guys got me,
Silver
those
nipple.
actually were really helpful.
I will ride or die by the silver nipples. I know some women don't like them, and I didn't wear them 24/7. That's all that I needed. I think I threw my nipple cream away. My breastfeeding journey was a lot smoother than Alea's was. I never had clogged ducts or anything, knock on wood, hopefully. I don't have to experience that with this one. But the silver nipples, if you can afford them or if somebody can get them for you for your baby shower, they are a little pricey. But like I would just drop a little bit of my breast milk in there and then
Mhm.
I would wear them and then take them off after a while. And yeah.
Yeah, because I definitely use both. I still use my nipple cream on some things, but I really liked the silver nipples. And of course, like the Perry bottle and like the
Mhm.
adult diapers. And I did get some from the hospital, but I actually bought Depends.
I did too.
And I still have like half, and I'm like definitely whenever I'm planning on using them again. But I'm like, who screw pads. I'm sorry. I don't think I wore diapers for weeks. Like I lived in diapers.
Yeah, I wore diapers. And also to know I know like Aaliyah doesn't have an HSA. I do have an HSA. If you have an HSA, you can buy all that stuff through your HSA. So there's, use your resources, but I definitely think absolutely the postpartum kit. We mentioned in the last video the using diapers to make ice packs, especially if you have extra diapers. Like I know my newborn grew out of newborn diapers within like a week and I had so many of them. So I used her newborn diapers to create the ice packs. Doing that. Also the tux pads. Like I just always try to think of like cost-friendly things too. If you can't afford Tux, but you can maybe afford some witch hazel, some all-natural 100% witch hazel, you can put that on, like, your ice packs or in your pads to help as well.
I did that after we had done it for you, and I actually I bought pads, natural whisk hazel, and I actually bought, like, straight aloe vera and just blended it in my blender and then put it in. So I'm like, if you're kinda nervous about, making sure you're getting clean products, I'm like, a leaf of aloe vera is really cheap, and it did
Mhm.
all, like, 30 of my pads or whatever I made.
And then I mentioned in the last one of our last episodes too, using the boppy. If you do tear, highly suggest, like, having, like, a instead of I mean, I didn't wanna buy, like, the donut, like, whatever, but, having something to sit on or making sure that you have a chair that you can get up and off of if you don't have your partner there to lift you up.
I am glad you brought up the boppy though, because I bought the donut pillow. I bought a really cheap one. It was like a $5 inflatable one, and it's literally still in the box because I kind of
Oh,
just was like, "Oh, it is." But I'm like, the boppy. I had, I have one, and I use it sometimes for nursing. But I'm like, I really didn't use it a ton, and that's a great alternative. And it's honestly probably way comfier because it's actual like pillow.
yeah, personal review for nursing with the boppy, no. It's
That was a
just
no
my
for me.
it's just my take is no, it gave 0 support. I just used a regular pillow or, like, 2 pillows.
I tried a couple different ones. I even had one that, like, strapped to you, and I don't know,
Yeah.
I didn't like
Oh,
any
we
of
gotta
them.
talk about that offline because I need to decide. But Azzy had, reflux too, so I ended up having, like, lie down and do stuff. But yes, boppies are great, but use them for, whatever you need. But yeah, it was nice, and I like too that it had, like, because it doesn't connect all the way around, so I felt like I could get a little more comfortable with it. You can also use it when they're sitting up or, like, lounging for tummy time. So if you do have a boppy and you don't like it for nursing, keep it for other things maybe.
Yeah, and kind of like on nursing, which just because I think that's a great point, kinda to tag on to the postpartum kit, I also
Mhm.
had, like, a nursing cart,
Yep.
and I would, like, tow it around, and then I had, like, a basket upstairs. So, just to, like and I'm like, even think, like, if there's postpartum things you need in there, like, obviously, I kept, like, my pain meds and, like,
Yeah.
that would be a good place to keep your boppy, but it's also a good time to keep the other things you'll probably need postpartum. Like, if you're
Mhm.
breastfeeding and you're breastfeeding, you are a lot of times couch locked, and so think, like, snacks, water, chapstick, phone charger, I don't know, entertainment, burp cloths, clothes, yeah.
Your pump, if
Yeah,
you're
your
pumping
pump.
part-time or full-time,
Yeah.
water.
Anything that you feel like you use a lot or that you would need, I would just put it in there because it's like, even if you don't use it, at least you know where it is. And like, yeah, I just remember like sometimes I'd be stuck and like if Ty's not home, it's like, oh.
Yeah. You're bringing back so many memories. I kept all of my pump parts
hmm
in it so that if I needed a new duckbill valve, I didn't have to go look for it. I knew where it was.
I'm glad you brought or you said that. Just side note. If you don't know, definitely look because there are some pieces that you do need to replace if you're reusing your pump. Because I didn't know that until, again, if you need breastfeeding advice, follow Karrie Locher. We've mentioned her before, but she taught me that there's certain pieces on your pump that like you should replace. It's just good to know if you don't know.
Usually, I think that was something I learned when, like, the suction goes. You're like, "Why isn't it suctioning
Right.
properly?" Usually something to do with that or how you're, like, latching it on. But
But it's just a
that
reminder because I would have had no idea that you had to replace pieces. I would have just assumed.
well, you get the pump and some of them have, like, one part for replacing, you're like, why do I have this? Oh, maybe if I lose it, right? They don't tell you, like, "When this goes slack, like, you're
Right,
gonna."
like, maybe they do and we just don't read the whole book, but
Well, to be fair.
so, yeah, that's just another kinda reminder, and I don't know, is there anything else you would add to, like I would say that's, like, the main stuff, like, it doesn't have to be complicated, just the things that you need, and if you're going through, like, a C-section or something, you might need some additional things, so just note that, like, think about your current situation and what you really want for, like, postpartum and
I would say, like, this isn't, like, physical things that you need, and you might not even have time for it, but, like, queue up some Netflix shows, queue up some books, queue up some things that you can do. Because, like Aleea said, if you are nursing, especially if you're at home, you're likely going to be couch locked for a little while, especially I mean, I know first baby, I was couch locked a lot, ran through a lot of shows, and, like, you get bored,
I
so
even had, like, my Switch. I like the books. I did play a lot of phone games. Yeah,
Mhm.
it is, and I mean, I honestly Dash is almost 2, and I'm still couch locked because we're still breastfeeding. So, it is just a reminder that, like, yeah, you might be couch locked
Yeah.
for a while.
Hey, even the bed locked at nighttime, I mean, I'm still kind of in it, getting more out of it, but, like, having a book to read or something to do while Hazzy's wanting 45 minutes of cuddles.
You're gonna miss this.
These are what
Anytime I'm, like, upset, I tell myself that just because there is some truth to it, like we've talked about.
There
Like, yeah, sometimes you're just like, "I just wanna scream and want people to be like, 'Yes.'"
Oh, it's so hard. I mean, just from somebody who's, like, finally seeing the light, and, like, getting, like, where she's putting herself to bed for the most part and stuff. It really is, like, I tell her all the time because she's like, "I wish I had a magic wand so I could just be a baby again." I'm like, "I want you to know that I miss the cuddles too, but this is so good for our bodies, like, we're getting so much better sleep, like, this is really, really healthy, but if I could just cuddle you all day and all night and have no, like, trust me. You think I don't enjoy snuggling, smushing your little face? Like, waking up to you and just seeing your cute little eyelashes flutter? Love it.
I agree. It is sweet.
Hated it, though. Like, having no option makes things really difficult.
And I guess that kinda I would say, kinda takes us like, we're talking about physical. Now let's
Yeah.
kinda talk about, like, the mental. Like, there's more to recovery than just trust me, physical is a big part of it, but mental is a huge part of it
But
too.
to be honest, if physical was the only part of it, I don't think we would complain as much as we do.
I agree. And I think that's, like, what I was getting at the beginning. There's so much that happens at once. It's like your body, both inside and outside, and then your brain is
Yeah,
going
right.
through, like, a ton, and it's just like, that's so much change in a day period, and like you were saying, I actually it's funny when you're like when people said, like, "Oh, just wait, once you give birth, you'll feel better." I did feel better and worse all at the same time.
Right.
It was like, I don't like, the pains that
Absolutely. I mean, the mental, because I know if you listen to the episode where we talked about being pregnant, and I mean, there's a lot of episodes where we talk about being pregnant and, like, grieving feelings and, like, or being scared or whatever, like, that switch after having her, like, I was no longer worried about being a girl mom or what I was gonna do, like, how I was gonna hold her or whatever. I was never really worried about, like, having a tiny little baby, but, like, being like, "Oh, no, did I make the right choice to be a mom?" Like, as soon as she was here, I was like, "This is my life." But then I was also like, "This is my life." Like, I have no option but this to be my every single day.
Mhm.
Love that for me, but it's also, like, mentally, like, that really is kind of a hard thing to, like, you can't just get up and leave.
No.
Maybe you can. I couldn't just get up and leave the house. I couldn't just drop her off at I mean, Mima, if you're listening, I know you would say, "Yes, you could drop her off at my house," but you know what I'm saying, like, you you can't just, like, go do anything.
I think it plays into part of the reason is, like, for me, those things, like, yes, we could do it, but the anxiety that came with that. I'm like, that's
Or
a
the guilt.
whole other thing we don't talk yeah, and the guilt, and I'm like, it is more than just being like, "Here, go away."
Absolutely. I know for me, mentally, there was a lot of things I didn't realize was a mental thing until, like, a year into it, or even now being like, "Oh, baby girl, if I could have just told you, like, you would have gotten through it." I mean, sobbing for the hours that Tony was gone. How am I gonna handle this when he goes to work? Or the, like, stress of nursing and thinking that I needed to only feed her on a certain schedule. Like, there's so many things that I think are put on moms, and I won't even like, dads too, but it's like, there's so much, like we said, the guilt, the anxiety. Even if you're not an anxious parent, I think there's the guilt of it, am I holding her too much? Am I putting her down too much? Are those cries acceptable? I remember they tell you, especially when you're, like, nursing, that you'll learn the baby's cries and you'll know whether they're hungry or they're I could never tell what the cry meant, ever.
I just hope it stopped with my solutions.
Literally, like, here's the boob. If it's not
Mhm.
that, I'll try to walk you around. She was a horrible sleeper. Even to this day, is that my fault that she didn't sleep well? Is that just because she's a human and like we were trying to stick on a schedule that was told to us and didn't actually wasn't needed for her. Like there's so many things. For me, the mental of like, did I fuck myself over with going and getting induced and I didn't need to? Like basically, like, is it my fault that I'm recovering so poor? Like not recovering poorly. My recovery went well, but I would like it was long. So yeah, I think there's I could probably just keep going. But and then you have the hormones and the everything.
Yeah, it's crazy how many things play a role, and I actually, as you were talking about that, I'm like, what's crazy too is I feel like my biggest mental thing is, like, when you were talking about, like, I'm worried about those things, like we all are, and then you have outside people that say things, and then it makes you also be like, "Oh, I am a bad mom," or, "I am second guessing it," and I'm like, I just wish we gave moms a little, and parents in general, a little more grace, just because it's like, you see, we've talked about it before, but you see such a small section, and I'm like, and we're already beating ourselves up. So it's like you adding to it isn't going to help, but it gives me more anxiety. It makes me not want to leave. And like,
Right.
especially early postpartum, I was so nervous. Like, I was like, are people going to be like judging how I'm holding him or taking care of things? Like, are they going to be like, oh, why are you just instantly giving him the boob or something? I don't know. There's just so many things. And I feel like that also adds to the mental, because I never had those like, I was worried about just society judging, but I feel like it heightened.
Oh, for sure. And I think we talked again in past episodes about people giving advice unsolicited or solicited or whatever, and how it can make you feel like you're doing even worse than you could. And I remember getting to a point, especially with her sleep, where I was like, I just need to, I'm just going to stop telling people
Mhm.
because I feel so guilty when they're trying to help.
Right.
And then me being like, well, that doesn't work or whatever. And like, just feeling like such a bad mom or like I wasn't doing the right thing to then being like, well, I just need to hold it in, which I think you and I do that too. I wish more people did this where we would be like, are you asking for advice or do you just need to vent about it? Because that's really sucky. And like, or even like, hey, don't know if you want advice. You can try this, but also like, you're doing great. I just wish some people were like, just do what you need to do instead of being like, well, do this, do that, feed her this, feed her that, like, give her the rice cereal in the bottle, give her, stop nursing her, da da da, like all these things. I'm like, obviously, if I'm complaining about it, you don't think I haven't thought about it or I haven't tried different things. Like, I just like, you asked me how her sleep is and it's shit. And I just like need somebody to be like, you're doing the best you can do.
Exactly, and I'm like, and I think the one thing that would really help is, like, if you're like, "Yeah, that really sucks, but, like, hey, here's some things that might have helped me," that even would feel better than, because a lot of times when people come in advice, it is well-meaning, but it just comes off because I'm usually complaining because I'm already feeling bad about it. So I'm like,
Right.
you adding to it isn't gonna help. So I will say, if you are someone that feels like you're really dealing with, like, an mental and emotional turmoil and stuff, I'm like, one, I definitely think, like, one thing that's always helped me is, like, Hav and I've talked about it. A lot of times we don't even agree with how they parent right. So it's like, you don't have to take their advice if you would, or take their criticism if you wouldn't take their advice. Just like, definitely sometimes you have to take things with a grain of salt.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, we'll see how it goes with the second one, but I think that's why I'm like feeling so much mentally better about it is like, one, I went through it. She's a great kid. She's putting herself to sleep. All these things that I was terrified were never going to happen. And once I kind of stopped letting the outside noise and it got a lot better mentally, there's days where I still feel like a horrible mom. I think the other thing to talk about mentally is partnership. And like, you can have the best relationship in the world, no matter what you say or how you try to convince me, there is your whole life is going to change. It's going to be kind of thrown upside down when you have a kid. And the mental of, am I letting dad do enough? Is, I know for me and Tony, a lot of it, like, and we talked about this, is like, he mentally was like, I need to do as much as possible to make the house, because that's really big for me. I like the house being clean. I like having things done, all this stuff, the yard. I want things taken care of. So he went and made sure that the yard was taken care of and did all these things and would like make sure, but like wouldn't necessarily be in the room with me and the baby. Not like avoiding us, but like in my head, I'm like, why aren't you sitting down in it with, things like that. Like, and there's just so much, like, you can just get so into your head. So I think there is also the postpartum recovery of like you and your spouse connecting. You don't have time. Maybe some of you do. We didn't have time to go on dates. We didn't have stuff so that we were able to do like the days that we would sit down and watch an episode of TV together were like the best things ever. And then, like I said, like, especially if you're nursing, I hate when people are like, oh, of course, it's a breastfed baby. Like, of course they're attached to mom. I hate that. But also, yes, of course. So I know for me, a lot of it was like, am I letting dad do enough? Like, I felt like I wasn't involving him, but there was also only like so much that he could do to support the physical aspects of it. So I think the mental recovery, like postpartum with your spouse, is something that like honestly needs more attention. Just like when people talk about it, it can be really hard. I'm not saying it's gonna like you talking about it's gonna solve everything or whatever, but I definitely think that's something like we talked about I think last episode, the episode before that, is like just preparing and having a conversation with your spouse about like things that like with me and Tony, I'm like, just sit down with me. If the yard doesn't get done, yard doesn't get done.
Mhm.
Like, just want some time.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, is like a big part of the mental is sometimes not being on the same page. And so I agree,
Mhm.
like, especially as you're kind of getting ready, is to kind of, yeah, start talking about figuring out if there's things that like, and we've talked about, you might not know until you're in it, but like start
Mhm.
thinking about ways that maybe you guys can support each other. But I also think that could tag on to family. Like if
Yep.
you like, and we'll link the episode below, but you might need to set boundaries with family members or things like that. And so this is also a good time to kind of set up for that mental kind of aspect
Mhm.
of it as well.
I was just gonna say friendships too. You might feel like a shitty friend for a while, to be honest. I know my friends are amazing. Everybody was checking on me, but I remember there was points where I was like, I feel like all I do is talk about me and talk about the baby and complain. And I don't know how to get out of that because that's my whole life right now. But like, I love you and thank you for being there for me. And I hope you don't think I'm a crappy friend. And like, I was the only one who had a kid. So also don't be super worried. Like, I think people are always like, well, you have a kid and your friends don't have kids, they're going to vanish out of your life. That's not necessarily true. I think my friendships got even stronger, but there was a good, like, probably year where, and it was just honestly mentally kind of difficult to be like, okay, now message them first. Now make sure that you're checking in on them. It sounds selfish and it kind of is. I mean, to be honest, you deserve to be selfish in that first year if shit's going on, but I think prepare for maybe feeling like you're even being the one who's neglecting your friends. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know how to prepare for that, but
I agree, but it is something. I mean, I think one way is like you can let your friends know, like, hey, I might be a little absent this next year. And like you might not know, but I mean,
Mhm.
just to let them know. And I'm like, and if they're not understanding, it's like what we've talked about. Those aren't very good friends. So I mean, I would say that's a good part of the mental. I'm like, there's obviously the stuff with your supporting your, having you and your husband or partner be on balance. There's also like actual postpartum stuff. Like you're going to be dealing with potentially postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety or who knows what else, because it feels like it's just such a wave of emotions. And I don't have a ton of advice, but I think one thing is like recognizing it and just kind of feeling the feelings. And if you do need extra support, definitely, look for it, whether like we've talked about before, whether that's therapy, whether that's like just a sounding ear. I mean, Hav and I ourselves have really like like I wouldn't have been able to get through postpartum without you. So like if
Really.
you can find someone,
Yeah.
it can make a really big difference.
Like I think especially since I had Azzy, the voice memos, we didn't have a lot of time. We still don't have a lot of time to talk on the phone, but like you were childless and you saved you saved me during postpartum, like just being able to message you and be like, it's a shit day. Just like, and we're across the country from each other. So
And a
you
time
can,
difference.
yeah, time difference, all that stuff. So if you haven't thought about that, doing like a voice diary or something with your friends might be really helpful. Yeah, having that support. And I think, like we always talk about, just like be introspective about what you need. I think obviously it's gonna be different with this one. And sometimes I wish I went out more and like did stuff with her more when she was an infant and stuff. But also like I think I needed that just, like, space.
Well, and it's also funny because you're, thinking like, "Oh, and look, she's still super extroverted." So I'm like, "You not leaving the house didn't change anything. Your girl
Oh.
still loves being social." And so it's just a reminder, part of it is personality.
Yeah, a big part of it. That's why I'm like, take what everybody says with a grain of salt. I mean, she's in daycare now, but just to that point, like, people would be like, "Oh, like, you don't" I was taking her to parks when she was, like, verbal and walking and stuff, but, like, "Oh, you don't let other people hold her. She cries when other people hold her," and I think paying attention to you and your child, it pans out. Your kid might not be social. Guess what? I'm not social, and I'm 30 years old. So, I don't think it's anything. My dad was a social butterfly,
He
okay?
is a social butterfly.
Yeah. So, I don't think it has anything to do with the people you're around. I was such a smiley kid, and I talked to everybody, and now I don't wanna talk to anybody. So, just, like,
Me too.
grain of salt.
I actually think that's also an excellent point is that's a reminder that people that are giving you advice also take into account that they're giving you advice off of their child.
Yes.
Again, personality. I'm like, I'm sure you can think about their kid and be like, "Oh, that wouldn't work for me because our kids are
Yeah.
totally different."
I've met some kids where I'm like, "You could use daycare. You could use some school." Like, just, like, the social parts because you seem like, you just need a little bit more or, like, more parks. I don't know. I'm a big on take your kid to the library. They don't need school to be social.
I know. And I'm like so mad. Our library is closed. It's been closed for renovations for like 6 months. And I'm like, I
Uh,
need the library. It's like one of the only
Not even
activities we
partial?
want.
I love the library. Ozzy's obsessed with it to this day.
Yeah.
"Can we go to the library?"
And we've mentioned it before. They have so many great free resources. So, like, if you are someone that's trying to get out with your kids, that is a great
Mhm.
starting place, especially because, like, they're not usually super busy. So, if you're anxious and like worried, I'm like, that's a good kind of like test feel. Like, how you, how you're everything. Yeah.
Kids sections are amazing. They can talk in the kids section for sure.
I will say, I think that pretty much wraps up everything. The only thing I would kind of add, which is something that I thought mattered that didn't,
Mm,
was I focus so much on the aesthetics, but I'm like, really, I'm like, the thing that I would really harp on is having things accessible. So,
mm,
like, if you can have your birth card or basket and just throw everything in it that you need it, like, just having the essentials because it's like it's just you wanna make your life as easy as possible when you're going through something that's not easy at all,
yeah.
And the other thing would be, like, having, like, a drop zone because it can get really chaotic, especially, like, if you're someone who's maybe not cleaning as much because you just don't. I'm like, having, like, a basket or something that you can just throw all the clutter, it can be really helpful just to give yourself a little peace of mind until you're ready to tackle it. But yeah, those are some things like don't worry too much on aesthetics. Really think about like making your life easier and getting through.
Yeah. And I would say just I mean, if you're somebody who knows you're gonna be on the go too, having, like, a pack in the car. Postpartum stuff, but also, like, your kids' stuff. I know I always kept, like, a couple of diapers and some wipes and stuff just in case I miss something in the diaper bag. But that is if you're thinking about that one with this one, I'm gonna be more on the go. So, like, a little diaper caddy in the in the car kinda thing.
Well, I'm
But yeah.
actually glad you brought that up because I mean, I did have a diaper bag, but I always just did like the car caddy thing. Like, I think again, Carrie, she does like a trunk organizer. And
Uh-huh.
so she just keeps like everything in the car. And then if she does need something, it's always there because especially if you have multiple kids, you don't want to have to think about packing a diaper bag every time you leave the house. And if you're like someone like Hav that maybe is doing you're going a lot, I'm like, you don't wanna have to worry about it, especially because then you'll get there and be like, "Oh, I forgot." So, I
Yeah.
actually started doing it where I switch it out every season. I just check in, make sure he has like, it's still his sizes, and I keep, like, anything. Like, for example, we're heading into summer, so I keep, like, swim trunks and diapers and snacks and things. So, yeah, I'm glad
Mhm.
you brought that up because I think it is really helpful, keep postpartum stuff, but also just to make your life easier.
Well, yeah, and I was gonna say, 'cause especially because this is, like, mainly postpartum recovery is your pads, your whatever, but change of clothes for you,
Yes.
anything that's gonna keep yourself comfortable. I mean, it's like being in hi I mean, at least for me, being in high school, my trunk was my closet, right? So just I mean, we don't want clutter everywhere and whatnot, but, like, for your mental and for your recovery and not having to run around the house. I'm the mom who wants to have everything with me. Like, I want to have snacks with me. I want to have clothes with me. I want to have a towel, like Aleea said, swim trunks,
I'm a
her
peace of mind.
floaty. Yeah. And like, I would love to say like, oh, if we don't have it, we can buy it, but that's not always the case. So,
Right. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because especially postpartum, I do think you're right. Like your own stuff, but also your kids' stuff, because it's like there's so much going on. And you got a lot going on in your house. And now it's like you don't want to add the stress once you're outside of the house either. I think it's just a reminder, being prepared for postpartum. It's honestly, it's just about things that make it easier for your future self. We've mentioned it before, whether it's the freezer meals, whether it's the cart, whether it's whatever. It's like,
energy drinks.
yeah, anything, but, like, it's also a reminder you don't need to do it all, so just think about a few things that'll kinda hold you up when you're in it, and if you we'd love to hear what you're like, if you have a postpartum lifesaver, we wanna know it, so drop it in the comments or send us a message just because I love hearing all the different everyone has something different that they found was a lifesaver, so, yeah, let us know. Hav, any final thoughts?
No, I think that's it. Give yourself grace as always.
Yep, I agree. And so that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for hanging with us. If this episode made you feel a little less alone, please send it to a mom friend who might need it. It really does help us. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe and leave a review. It helps the show and it helps us know what you want more of because this is about you. Until next week, where we will be diving into things that make life easier with the newborn. So we'll be kind of switching from postpartum, focusing more on you and baby. So with that, remember to keep the kids alive and your coffee hot, or at least reheated once. Bye.
Hey.